And now, coming to you live from Jacksonville, Florida, another episode of Pink Parachute Recovery with your host, Jeff Deck.
All right, welcome everybody back to Pink Parachute Recovery. This is our 7th episode, and thank you, Clay and Mars Studios, musicians and artists in recovery and sobriety. And I'm very excited for today's show. We got a great guy with us. His name is Woody, and most of y'all know I work for Lakeview Health at the Stepping Stone facility. I'm an alumni coordinator there, and that's where I met Woody, because we have a alumni meeting every Tuesday night, and that's where I was introduced to Woody, and he comes to that meeting, and he's such service. He comes back and brings the message once a week to all those guys at our men's facility there called The Star. And I was talking to Woody last week, and man, he brought up, he asked a question. It was a funny question, Woody. Do you remember what it was? Like, pick 3 things or something? And you mentioned 3 things to me. Like, what was a lie? 2 truths and a lie. Do you remember what they were?
Yeah. So the 3 truths and a lie. One, I'm a former model.
Yeah.
I'm a former disc jockey, and I am a excellent cook.
I don't know. Aren't they all truths?
They are.
They were all truths, Clay.
Truth.
I was like, oh my goodness. And then I said to him, I saw him with his blue eyes. He's got blue eyes than me, which is highly unlikely, right? It's almost impossible. I was like, I could see how you were a former model. I mean, I see how you're looking at me too.
Yeah,
I was
like, 3.
I'm a little intimidated.
Yeah. Well, like I showed you the picture, I was 3 years old, and my mom, having been a 23-year-old who looked like Jackie Kennedy,
yeah,
she happened to be the secretary to the president of Hardee's, the burger chain. And so that may have had some influence on how I got to be in their advertisement.
Right.
That and me being adorable, of course.
Oh, yeah, of course. As soon as I heard that, you know how my brain works, Clay. I get an idea, and I'm like, I'm going to run with it. I was like, because I was saying, I want to get somebody on this show who's an alumni of our program, and I mean, we've had Frankie, right? But Frankie's just, Frankie's been around for years, and I had him at the Java Club when I was running the place. That was more about that stuff there. And then I was listening to Woody talk, and I was like, man, this is the guy. This is the guy. So thank you for being on here today, Woody. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate being asked.
You want to tell us your sobriety date?
Sobriety date is 5/21/21.
Good stuff, man. So you're coming up on 2 years pretty soon, and here's the thing. Whenever we start this show, I usually ask everybody to tell me about that last time you went out, drinking or drugging, right? But knowing that I know you a little bit, and I kind of want to revisit, like, how long it took you to get sober, right? Because it's been a long road. And, we tell everybody, keep coming back until a miracle happens, right? And relapse is not a requirement, right? And I've been there too. I've drank again, I've drugged again, right? Before I got sober this time. So maybe you want to talk about, like, your first venture to trying to get clean and sober. When that was, did you go to a facility? What happened?
All right, so, in retrospect, it took me 15, 16 years to get 1 year, my 1 year check. I first recognized that this was an issue, and I was a real late bloomer, okay? I'm 57 years old, and I first started trying to get sober when I was 40.
God bless you. I really didn't think you were 57. Like, I ain't like, blowing smoke up your ass. I could have sworn you were like late 40s, so God bless you.
Well, formaldehyde and I'm pickled.
Yeah, so, definitely. Your drug of choice definitely wasn't methadone.
Yeah, had I been unfortunate enough to die while I was in my disease and they cremated me, I would have burned blue for about 6 straight days.
Jeez.
But I went to my first time in this. I did go to treatment first. I knew absolutely nothing about AA.
Right.
Anything. I had seen the movie 28 Days.
Oh, me too.
And so, of course, that made me an expert on recovery. But literally, that's exactly what made me pick up the yellow pages, dating myself here, because the internet wasn't really prevalently used at that time. And so I looked at the yellow pages and found a recovery place. And I lived in Alabama, and I found one in Mississippi, because I didn't want anybody to know. I didn't want to run the risk of anybody that was a customer of mine or an acquaintance to know that I had a problem. And so I found a place, and my now ex-wife, we drove over there, and I was absolutely furious to find out that it was a 30-day program. Thought I'd been screwed.
You thought you were going to like detox
I
or
thought
something?
I was going to 28 days.
Oh,
So it was
because of the movie.
It was the extra 2 days, and I'm like, whoa, this is just,
just too much.
this is
That's
unacceptable.
funny.
And so I'll never forget it. The place is called Clearview, and it is right next to the airport in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And so, you know, I get all checked in, and like an idiot, I mean, I bring stuff like I'm going on a cruise.
Yeah.
And because I had no idea, no concept of
Sure.
what it was. And yeah, I didn't like it, you know. Geez, go figure.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm right next to the airport, and my ex made a mistake, and the facility made a mistake because they let me have my wallet, which has my ID and my credit cards. So I left and walked over to the airport,
Sure.
to the rental car place, and I rented a car, and
Dude.
drove back and AMA'd myself. And I get home, and my ex is like, or wife, she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, so of course I lied.
Yeah, I'm healed. I'm
I
cured.
lied and
I had a
said,
spiritual awakening.
I said they told me that I didn't need to go to treatment, and so she didn't believe me for some reason. So
No.
she called and found out that was not what was said. And so she called a family friend of mine, this big, massive guy that was a friend of the family, and massive guy. So Oliver comes over to the house, and he's like, hey, I understand you cut it a little short, and he's like, you're going back right now, right? And I said, what? He was like, yeah, you can either get in the passenger seat, or I'm going to fold you into pieces and put you in the glove box. Which one do you want?
Wow.
And so my ex drove me back, and completed the program. And I didn't listen to anybody. It was my first experience, and so
Right.
it was my first experience hearing the slogans, which I
Right.
thought were absolutely crazy, like the Yets.
Oh, God.
You're eligible too. And I sat there, and instead of finding things in common, I contrasted absolutely everything.
Sure.
I'd never had a DUI.
Yeah.
Um,
You were comparing yourself to everybody
Absolutely.
else and all that stuff.
Absolutely. I owned my own business,
Sure.
an actual medical practice. And I'm not a doctor, so it's audiology, and it was hearing aids, but you have to be licensed by the state and licensed nationally to be able to do that. And so I had that. On the weekends, for family visitation, my wife is bringing carpet, tile, and hardwood samples because we're building a house. And, if you ask me what time it was, I'd look at my Rolex.
Yeah.
Literally. And
You're concentrated on everything else but why you're actually there.
you got it. And
Worrying about everything else.
as a result, I didn't get anything out of it.
Yeah, nothing stuck. But what's funny is, that was what, 16 years ago, you said?
Yeah, it was.
16 years ago, but you're actually remembering things they told you there. You just said a couple of things. That's what we talk about, those seeds that are planted, right, Clay? I mean, those seeds, that we don't know when those seeds are going to start growing,
Right.
So you leave there, and from that point, did things just go downhill real quick? When was the next time you checked into a place?
So I leave there, and I immediately drank again. Just immediately.
Right.
So I leave there, go back home, and the house gets complete, and just yada yada yada. And the spiral keeps going down. I'm drinking more. I'm hiding it, which becomes a very, very sick game between
Sounds familiar.
me and my ex-wife. And so I'm trying to hide it, and she's trying to catch me. I would hide it in the vacuum canister in the garage. We had a whole house vacuum cleaner system. Where you just plug the thing into the wall in whatever room you're in.
Sure.
And it goes through the pipes all through the house, and it goes in the garage. And I'm like, she'll never find it. She never did.
And that's why alcoholics, we love like half pints and pints and stuff, because my ex-wife, right, my second ex-wife, man, would I hide it on her woody. She had this big walk-in closet. I would hide it in her jackets because there was so many clothes in there. I would hide it in certain pairs of shoes that I knew she wouldn't wear because those half pints and pints, man, they fit right in stuff. And we lived in this little community, right, where you could just hide it in bushes in somebody else's house, like the bigger leaders and the magnum-sized things. Baby, I'm going for a jog, right? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Cunning, baffling, powerful. It's just sick, the things we used to do.
No, I get it. The sunroof in my vehicle had that little shade,
Yeah.
which as a follically challenged person, I use that shade all the time. But it was absolutely perfect for a fifth of bourbon or vodka in the plastic, and I could close that shade because she would toss my car, but nobody ever looks up.
Wow.
Again, it was a sick game that nobody won. And surprisingly, as I was spiraling down, the business would do good one month and then bad another month.
Right.
The relationship was absolutely horrible. Missing things, family birthdays,
Sure.
coming home so drunk that I could not write happy birthday
Yeah.
on a card. And, so in like 2007, I went to a 90-day program.
Did you know it was 90 days going in?
So I didn't. I went to a place called Bradford, which is north of Birmingham. In the meantime, I had started going to AA.
Right.
Okay, and I don't know why I would go to AA with a styrofoam cup in the console of my car with vodka in it, but I was going to AA mainly, I think, to get my ex-wife off.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because she would drive by to see that my car was there.
Sure.
And I was getting nothing out of it, and she knew that too. And I tried going to Celebrate Recovery.
Right.
The God question, the God thing has never been an issue for me.
Let me ask you something. Let me stop you a second. You saying Alabama? Is that like Bible Belt? Is that where you're from?
It is.
Okay.
It is. So the God thing was never an issue for me. But I'll tell you this: when I hear someone say, they don't need the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, that religion is going to cure them, I've lived all over the country.
Right.
And no matter what time zone you're in, Joel Osteen comes on at 8:30 in the morning. And I have sat in front of that TV with a highball glass, because I've not been to bed yet, just crying, God, take this away from me,
Yeah.
And being unwilling to do anything about it.
Right.
So I get up to Birmingham, my ex drops me off, and, I had to go through this evaluation. So once I did that, they set me down and they said, we really think that you need to go, to our 90-day program. And we've got one that's specific to medical professionals. And they did. And so I was in that program with, surgeons, nurses, anesthesiologists. And it was phenomenal. I still keep in touch with my counselor that I had in 2007. And I'd love to sit here and say I've been sober ever since, but you asked me at the start what my sobriety date is, and my sobriety date is May 21 of 2021. That coincides with some of the yets, the last yet, right? So in my first attempt, and I was in a rehab, I didn't have a DUI. My sixth and final DUI was May 21st of 2021.
Wow.
And in my pocket, I have a valid Florida driver's license with no restrictions.
Aren't those the promises? And your insurance matches the registration, of course.
That and the tag on the back of my car.
Look at that.
It's not from a boat trailer.
That's it right there. That's it right there.
When
Dude.
you got a boat trailer tag on the back of your car,
Those are the promises, my brother.
You might have a problem.
Okay, so 16 years ago, you enter your first facility, right?
Right.
Do you know how many facilities you've been to?
So,
total?
In terms of rehabs,
right.
That was one. Bradford was another one. And then I went about a decade just self-medicating.
Really?
Self-medicating.
Were you divorced at this time?
All right. So when I get out of rehab, and my ex and I, we had been trying to have a baby, and part of my story is, I adopted her son. I ended up marrying, and won't mention her right now.
Right.
We were childhood friends. Our parents were best friends, and she was at my first wedding. I was at her first wedding. We both got divorced, and we just sort of it just meshed. It was meant to be, and that's one of many things that my alcohol took away from me. One thing just a little sidetrack here. I sponsor guys now, and I had a sponsor in Daytona. I was talking about what I'd lost, and he stopped me right there, and he goes, "Don't say the word lost. Lost is what you do with car keys."
I like that.
He's like, "You gave it away. Whether you consciously did it or not, the reality of it is you traded your family for alcohol.
That's a good sponsor.
You didn't lose it. That house is still there.
That's right.
Your business, your medical practice is still there. Your kids, you know where they are. You traded it."
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up having a baby, and she had a baby. She did the hard part.
Right.
And at that time, due to Hurricane Katrina, my practice in Alabama and the Gulf Coast had really slowed down. When you don't have a roof over the top of your house, you're not really interested in whether you hear the television or not. You're more worried about, hey, I got water coming in.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing getting licensed in the state of California, so I was going to the San Francisco area like every 2 weeks. And I'd stay out there for about 2 weeks. And that was a recipe for disaster.
Oh, boy.
For somebody that is active in his disease and was, had to hide it from the now ex, but hiding it from the wife. I didn't have to hide anything.
Right.
And so I didn't. And it was a hearing aid practice through a family friend that had clinics in California. He's no longer a family friend because I did what any good alcoholic did is I drank that opportunity away. By either not showing up or doing something worse, which is not the first time I've done it. There are worse things you can do than call out sick. What's worse is showing up to work when you've got absolutely no business doing that.
Oh, my goodness. The stories, right?
Yeah.
Man. And I've had 74 jobs, right? And before I got clean and sober, man, I can't remember one job where I didn't show up not inebriated or on something at some point.
Right.
Thinking nobody knows. But they know.
Yeah.
They know.
They know. So my ex, she gets pregnant, and I am allowed back in the house for a little while, but only a little while.
Right.
And then she was, I had to sign like a contract, a sobriety contract in order to be around the family. And I ended up getting the Scram monitor on my ankle.
Oh, wow.
When I went to go get it, they told me that I was the very first person they'd ever had that was not court ordered to have that.
Dude, that's some serious stuff.
It was my ex-wife that wanted me to have that. And that was like $125 a week to keep that on there. So my youngest son is born, and I'm still going to California, making just a lot of money, which is dangerous for me because
another recipe for disaster.
That totally feeds my ego.
Sure.
Look at me. If this was a problem, would I be able to do this?
I mean, that's the excuse we could use. So I'm not losing my job. Look at the money I'm bringing in. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm making. We got a good life right here.
Right.
We need money for the kid. Well, man.
Right. So I'm crushing it in the San Francisco and then in the Silicon Valley area. And there's a lot of money out there, as everyone knows.
Right.
There's still a lot of money out there. So I'm crushing it, and I'm living what I think is the Dean Martin lifestyle. Walking around with my little highball glass, little pinky sticking out, because I'm successful, and I'm not very good at hiding this. So fast forwarding just a little bit, my youngest son Cody is about 9 months old. I fly back into Mobile, and go to the house, which is the house that we built, when I was in my first rehab. And I'm bringing my suitcase in, and my aunt goes, "You can just park that suitcase right there in the kitchen, and then you go put that up. Go spend time with the boys." And so I got to spend time with the boys, and in the back of my head, fire alarms are going off.
Right.
And put the boys to bed, and she tells me that she's booked a hotel for me downtown, and hands me a letter, and she goes, "Don't read this until you get there." Well, of course, I didn't wait to get to the hotel to read it. I read it in the driveway, and with the overhead light. And she filed for divorce, and the number one cause of it was not irreconcilable differences. It's not like we grew apart. No, she listed alcoholism, and my youngest was 9 months old, and she filed for divorce. She got full, total custody.
Wow.
And all she had to do was list what I'd done, because by then I was on DUI number 2.
Yeah. Still in denial.
The first one, there should have been warning signs that I heeded all along. All right, my first DUI was on a Cub Scout campout trip
Oh boy.
on the USS Alabama, which is a battleship. If you ever go on I-10 to Mobile, you'll see it right there.
Let me stop you. Clay, you know what that reminds me of? Our friend Mike C, who passed away, because Mike C would share his story, and he was the bus driver for his church, and he used to drive those kids around, while he was taking pills and everything. He used to share that.
Yeah.
These are the things. This is the insanity of our disease, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's strong right there.
So, I check in, and I had brought, a cooler, and, nobody brings a bottle of vodka when you can have a water bottle like that
Sure.
full of vodka. But I didn't bring enough, or so I thought. So me and another knucklehead decided we needed to make a beer run. And so we did, and I got a DUI on that. So I had to call the Cub Scout troop master, who was my neighbor, and let him know, "Hey, you need to watch after my 9-year-old, because I'm going to be in jail."
Yeah. That's tough.
So, that's part of the trades that I made. I don't see it that way.
Yeah. Trades. I like that.
But when I write it down, and that's what that's what I tell my sponsees to do in their first step, right? Because we both know the first step is a 2-part step: powerlessness and unmanageability. So write down how you were powerless, what happened, blah, 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 and the unmanageability. Write that down too.
Mm-hmm.
And when I write my story down in black and white in my own handwriting, there is no denying what I am.
Yeah, because everything looks different on paper too. Because then we get to read it too. Then we see it, right?
Right.
The emotions really start coming out. There's no more denial there. These are facts that we're putting on paper. We're not writing a fictional fairy tale here. These are facts that happen in our life, man.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going through this process here. Now, when was the first time, which facility did you come to first? Stepping Stone or Lakeview?
Stepping Stone.
And what year
times.
was that?
That would have been maybe 3 years ago the first time.
Now, were you already in Jacksonville? If not, how did you get to Jacksonville?
So I drank my way out of the job. So after my wife files for divorce,
Right.
I go back to San Francisco. I closed down my practices in the Gulf Coast, which was family owned, which is a nice way of saying my dad invested
Yeah.
$500,000 in me and my career and equipment for all the audiology clinics to be outfitted, that I drank it away.
Mm.
Not only did I drink it away, I wouldn't do normal things like pay sales tax when I would collect it, pay payroll tax when I would collect it, and as a result, the IRS, who doesn't play, came and took it from the actual owner of the company, which is my dad. And so I got a phone call from him one day,
boy.
and Dad wasn't real happy with me.
Jeez.
So I go back to California, and still working for the family friend. By then, there's just a lot of turmoil there because I'm drinking nonstop, and I'm no longer able to be as effective as I was. When I first started it, I talked for a living, so I was a selling machine.
Right.
and making him a lot of money, making me a lot of money, just a ridiculous amount of money. Well, by the end, I'm drinking 24/7, and I'm not able to coherently do anything. So he fires me, and I pack up my stuff. I'm driving back across country, and it's the winter, and so I had to take the southern route because my Escalade was not four-wheel drive. And so I was out of options and out of places. My parents had moved to North Carolina, and so I was going to go stay with them because I was out of places to stay.
Sure.
So to take the southern route from San Francisco, you get on the 495 and you go all the way down to Los Angeles, which is where I-10 is. And I-10 you can take all the way across the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I am driving through LA and on the freeway, and I think it was the 405, and I see the Hollywood sign, the ones that we all see on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And then I hear whoop, whoop.
Oh, no.
And if you ever watched the movie Dragnet,
Oh, a long
Or the
time ago I
TV
watched
show?
it. It was a show, yeah.
okay, and then you see, if you see an LA Cops badge, it's got like that tower, the police tower on the badge. That's a real building, by the
Oh,
way.
wow.
It's a real building, and they've got a real jail underneath there, which is where I got to spend a night, courtesy of the CHP,
Mm-hmm.
for DUI number 2. And so I got to do that. They let me out. By then, I'm a hopeless, helpless, and broke, by the way, alcoholic. My mom had to find a bank and put money in the bank for me to have gas money to drive across the country.
Oh, boy. You went from, like, having all this stuff to rock bottom quickly, losing everything.
That wasn't the first. Well, that was the first time I'd done that, but it wasn't the only time I'd done
Right,
that.
right. And that's like that's alcoholism, man. Us alcoholics and addicts, man, we are hard workers. We know how to be like, okay, man, this is it here, and we know how to get that money back quick. We know how to do well at our job real fast, and then all of a sudden, man, we lose it so fast.
Exactly.
If we don't die, and if we wind up not staying sober, we build that money back up, we crash again.
Yep.
Up and down, up and down, up and it's like a roller coaster.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I make it up to North Carolina, and my license got suspended, which tends to happen. So
Yeah,
it's my second DUI. The state of Alabama suspended my license because I got that one in California for 3 years.
Hmm.
And so I go to my parents' farm in North Carolina. I'm living there. My dad's driving me back and forth to meetings, and I'm just adrift.
Yeah.
And I stay there for maybe 4 months or something. Long story short, my brother came up for a long weekend, and my brother lived, and still does, lived in Jacksonville. And
There's the connection.
we had a long talk, and he's like, well, do you want to, it's really not fair to mom and dad for you to be out here on the farm, because it's 30 minutes to a stoplight or a gas station.
Yeah.
It's an actual working cattle farm.
Mm.
So meaning for me to go to a meeting every day, my dad had to drive me, wait for an hour or so, and then drive me back.
Wow, that's commitment.
And so I moved to Jacksonville, and for those not familiar with the city layout, my brother lives like the Jacksonville Beaches area, so he lived off of Hodges.
Sure.
And he'd done a little bit of homework, and he found Penman.
Mm-hmm.
And so I move into his house. My brother is extremely successful. He owns his own hedge fund. Extremely, he works hard for his money, but as a result, he's got a boatload of it.
Right, right.
And so he's showing me around Jacksonville, the beaches area. I'd never been to Jacksonville before. And I'll never forget, so he lived off of Hodges, and he takes me, from Hodges to beach, takes a right on beach, goes up over the bridge, and at the bottom of the bridge, you take a left at Penman, and there's the Penman Clubhouse.
Mm.
And he goes, well, this is where you're going to go to your meetings, on my bike. And I'm like, over that damn bridge? What?
Oh, you had to cross the ditch on a bike.
And and so that's what I did for a little while. And as a result, 2 things happened. A, I got in shape. B, I got a really good tan. And the other thing I was supposed to do, he was adamant that I, find some job, and I'm just completely adrift.
Right.
And so I would find a little odd job here and there to get a little bit of money.
Sure.
And what I would do with that money is, I'd go to the liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
And his only, condition for me living with him is that something's got to change.
Yeah.
Well, nothing changed, and he knew nothing changed.
Right.
And he decided it was time for some tough love. And he had found, I don't know how, but he found the Alco House downtown. And I came back to his house one night, just lit up like a Christmas tree, loaded, hammered drunk. And he goes, okay, enjoy your last night here, because tomorrow I'm dropping you off at the Alco House.
What year was this?
This would have been 2009.
Wow.
1 minute.
How much time we got left, Clay?
About a minute.
We got about a minute left, man. So I really want to get to like how you got to like Stepping Stone in Lakeview here.
Yeah, okay. So that would have been, after, so when I went to Lakeview, I went there in March of 2021.
So you went to Lakeview first.
Yeah, I went to Lakeview first, and, I wanted the results, but I was not willing to put in any of the work. And as a result, I stayed there 6 weeks and relapsed immediately afterwards. But the seed had been planted. As I'm sitting in the Duval County Jail for 23 days, I had a decision to make. And they say willingness and desperation are requirements.
Yeah.
I was willing and I was desperate. And I came out willing to listen to my sponsor and do whatever he said.
Everything stuck for the first time. Like you had all this knowledge, all this experience that was given to you over all this time, and the light switch finally turned on.
Yeah, and the crazy thing on this is, and I didn't believe it, but once I started putting my program first, everything else fell into place.
Isn't that amazing?
Time with the family, stable job, a successful, meaningful life where I have purpose.
Man, that's the good stuff. I want to
30
get you back
seconds.
on here, Woody. I want to get you back on so we can talk about how life is now, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, guys.